question. Hi, everybody. I have to take those off. Hi, it's Laura Nicole with Resonant Moon Audiobook Solutions, and welcome to Cold Reads. I am not at my house, as you can tell, because the background is different, and I have my special guest, Justin Bakes, with me because technically I'm here with him, and yeah, I'm also operating on, I think, how long did I sleep for when I got here? Like 3 hours?
You got here.
I got here around like noon. We visited for a while. I think I went to sleep around 2:30.
So you've been
I got like 4 hours sleep.
I think you got more than that because you didn't wake up until.
I woke up around 7.
If I knew where I put my phone, I'd tell you. But
your phone's right here.
I think you got a good decent amount of sleep. I think you
but anyway, I'm working on less sleep than I normally operate under. So, but this is almost on time. So we are going to be doing part 2 of chapter 8. So Jason, I would like you to reprise your role as Eric Moonrunner because I think you were awesome in it.
Well, thank you.
And now, how is your book nerd voice?
Well, actually, I am an archivist.
Yes, you are an archivist.
An archivist.
That's right.
I'm looking at you too.
Great. So you are going to also play the part of books. And if any of you read Ministry of Peculiar Occurrences by T. Morrison, Pip Ballantyne, that is totally an homage to T's beloved character.
Is it Thornhill Wellington Books?
It is Wellington Thelonious Books, I want to say. He has a very long name because he is actually an aristocrat, even though he doesn't act like it. He does a little bit. Okay. Yeah, he does a little bit. But Eliza gets him to relax.
Yeah, if you've ever seen like The Mummy, you know, the librarian from The Mummy, combine that with let's see if I make a topical nerd reference.
Giles from Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
So I guess I should make a nerd revelation that I've only watched maybe 4 episodes of Buffy, and that was literally just recently because I made a deal with my bestie, my greatest baby girl, Catherine. We made a bet. I would watch 2 episodes of Buffy. She would watch 1 Miyazaki film.
I mean, why is that?
Because I refuse to watch Buffy. I think Buffy's crap. Early Joss Whedon, no.
But
it's problematic.
But
very problematic.
Oh, I don't know if we can be friends anymore.
Klingon vampires.
Well, okay, but that's a different podcast. That's a Talk Nerdy to Me podcast.
It is indeed. And by the way, everyone, if you've not noticed, whenever I'm on anyone else's podcast, I consume it.
And just so yeah, we're sitting too far apart, but that's mostly because it's hot. There's a fan going on, but
there's
it's
an air
hot.
conditioner in my office too.
Yeah, it's true. All right, so we are going to go ahead and get started with chapter 8 now that we've done our silliness.
Oh, I'm never done with my silly.
Well, we're done with the silliness for right now. So, without further ado, let me give you a quick recap. So, leading up to this, Beatrix Stonebriar has been on administrative leave from her job as a crime scene investigator. There was an attempt on her life, and so she was told to go back to the Elderwood for her protection and for the protection of her colleagues. When she arrived there were 7 tulip heads containing baby fae, who were wildlings like she was, laid out on her doorstep. Being that she can't just let a crime like this go uninvestigated, she has taken up the mantle and is searching for answers. She went further into the Elderwood and met up with her friend Turek, a goblin who has kept up an organization called The Watch, which she, Eric Moonrunner, Turek, and a centaur named Namina Farrunner, Namina Watchkin, have been keeping up to maintain diplomatic relations between the magical creatures and protect the Elderwood. Since the exposure of magical creatures to the human world, Beatrix, Eric Moonrunner, and Namina have all gone to the human world, and Turek was left behind. Turek helps Beatrix see the site where the tulip heads had been cut, and they discovered that there was an elven maiden and a human male who were both at the crime scene. She went to the Silverbark, the elves there, to investigate further and met her old friend Eric Moonrunner, who decided to help her out with the investigation as he has strong feelings for her and wants to make sure that she is safe. After spending a night together full of nightmares and other things, they come back to the Elderwood and are met with disdain by the residents of the Fae, led by Vervain Oakroot, who blames her for pretty much all of the problems of the Fae. Once her mentor, Rickson Amberstone, disperses the angry crowd, he, Beatrix, and Eric go back to Rickson's home and discuss the case further. And when we last left off, Beatrix was not able to breathe, and the last thing that was said was Rickson shouting, "She's being cursed." And so now we begin part 2 of chapter 8. Remember, Rico Suave.
Hold on, Trix,
Eric said, laying me down on the ground. I could no longer take in breath. My throat had completely closed. Rickson was making a ruckus over near his bookshelf. Jars were clattering, and I could hear him muttering obscenities. When I tried to look over, Eric called my attention to him.
Stay focused on me, Trix. Try to relax a little. It might help loosen your muscles.
I couldn't believe what he was saying. It was incredibly difficult to relax when your air supply had been cut off, and you feel like you have so much to live for. Aha! Rickson exclaimed from across the room. He rushed it over with his arms full of different roots. Here, he said, shoving something into Eric's hands. Place that in her mouth.
What? What does she need?
Do it now. Right between her teeth so she can bite into it. Eric complied. I couldn't see what was being put into my mouth, but it smelled bitter. Bite down, Beatrix. This is going to hurt a lot. I did as he asked. The root was familiar tasting. He began to work with mortar and pestle next to me. When I looked into Eric's eyes, I saw the most feral fear. Then I put a name... Then I put a name to the taste in my mouth. Belladonna. Before I could even register my fear, I felt my nerves start to shut down. Even before the darkness overtook my sight, I felt my body seize painfully, fighting to stay alive against the poison. There was infinite darkness, more than I expected to feel. Then I felt my lips being pressed on. Forceful air filled my throat, pushing through the clenched muscles. It stopped, and then there was hard beating. No, crushing into my chest. Air again pushed its way into me, followed by a sour liquid, and then the crushing on my chest continued. As the alternating pain continued, the liquid worked its way through me. I could feel each excruciating turn it took. It slunk through my veins, bringing heat into each of my limbs. I felt my throat relax, and the forced air was able to push into my chest. My heart took over the job of beating. It had the will to live, and now my body was responding. Finally, I was able to cough out the old air and breathe on my own. Eric rolled me over, probably in case I was to retch up anything. Once the coughing had subsided, I turned to face him. Rickson was standing over us. Still think this isn't about me? It took a while for me to regain my coordination. I continued to lay on the floor as we talked out the problem at hand. If this is being done by that one elf, we can safely assume that she is staying outside of the Silverbark. Perhaps even outside of the Elder Wood. Rickson said, I have asked Turek to scout for both her and the other hair that I found with hers. I'm pretty sure it's human. He may have something when we meet up with him later. Rickson pressed his fingers to his lips, then through them asked, Are you sure that's wise?
Sir?
Asked Eric. I mean, involving him. Goblins aren't always the most trustworthy creatures. I am sure my confusion showed on my face. How can you say that? Oh, that next line is yours. Sorry. I highlighted it wrong. He's our friend.
He's been our friend almost as long as Beatrix and I have.
Eric chimed in.
We've all looked after one another, and he's certainly saved my life a time or two.
Turek has been the one person of the watch patrolling the border while the rest of us have been out in the human realm, I added. And yet, someone got past him and committed this crime. Rickson allowed us to think over that fact. But I would not leave him out to dry. He's the one who's been trying to keep up with the task He is the one that has been trying to keep up a task that it used to take 4 of us to do. It's something to consider, Trix. I knew the old man was right. So did he. As cynical as the world has made you, you still hold out hope that the ones you consider friends are infallible. Would you say such a thing about Eric? I asked. It was a quiet question, but the silence that fell afterward felt like an itchy blanket. There was a reason you sent me to work with the other races, wasn't there, Master? Even you, like most of the fairer races, are subject to vanity. Who would sink so low to handle disputes and work out treaties with those in the muck, if not for me? His eyes were holding something back. Perhaps not tears, but there was something, and I knew I wanted to hear it. Please, you have to understand. Understand what? I was shaking with fury, but unable to keep my volume under control.
Trix.
Eric whispered in my ear. No, Eric. We all need to be working together, and this lunacy of hatred and bigotry or whatever it is needs to be explained to me. Do I consider my friends infallible? I'd like to think that the quality of my friends is why I am able to call them such. Do I think that my mentor is a sound and open-minded fae? I did, until now. So tell me, Rickson Amberstone, what possible reason could you have for keeping an entire race as far from you as possible? They are savages, he burst out as soon as my tirade seemed to be at an end. They have no concern for others outside of their races or what their actions will do above ground. Their only concern is the latest gizmo or gadget they can create and what it will do to benefit them, and what happens when their tunnels collapse. I have firsthand knowledge, actually. They don't give a damn about anyone that gets trapped in the rubble, not even the most precious fairy in the world. That's not true. My voice was a little louder than I expected. Don't interrupt me, Rickson continued. I didn't have the authority that you did in your time with the goblins. I was just another sky treader to them. I went to them and begged for help to get my daughter out of the heavy mud and stone. But do you know what they told me? Use your magic, Pixie.
Can you blame them?
Eric joined the conversation.
Goblins and trolls are so put down even now because they don't or can't use magic. Our races have used and abused them for millennia because we believe that magic makes us superior.
I knelt before Rickson, my hands on his knees, looking up into his eyes. You once told me that I must first give respect in order to gain it. I have taken that lesson to heart in all of my dealings with any race. Most of the time it has served me well. But if you cannot practice what you teach, Master, how can you expect other races will know the kind of person you are? I rose. I knew there would be no answer from him. Leaning on Eric, we left Rickson's bush, letting him reflect on his thoughts. Well, that was illuminating.
How so?
Eric looked at me strangely. All this hate runs deeper than we realized. Even my master is suspicious of other races. The northern elves dislike the central elves. This is very similar to territorial disputes in the human worlds.
Do you think that the goblins have something to do with it? Not Turek, naturally, but others?
It's worth asking. Come on. It's almost noon, and I want to take a look at our library and see if I can find anything on the runes that were missing from the elves' scrolls.
You're not worried that the one who cursed you will look to try it again?
We started to head up to a small cave behind a stream where the Fey library was stored. As far as they know, I did die. They may not know that I came back again. We kept walking in silence. Thank you.
I won't let you die. You can't get rid of me that easily.
His mischievous smile came back and immediately made me giggle. As much as it hurt. I clutched at my bruised ribs.
Oh, sorry. I forgot about that. But here.
He pulled an amulet out of his pocket.
Rickson's curse, Detective. He told me to give it to you once you came back.
After he draped the locket around my neck, he pulled me close and kissed me. It was a hard, desperate kiss.
Don't die on me again, okay? The first time was bad enough. And at least the second time, I was able to help bring you back. But you know what they say about the third.
I took his hands in mine and kissed his fingertips. Trust me, I don't want to make a habit of it. We continued on to the library, arm in arm. I was able to support myself better, but would need some generous application of tree oil to help with my bruising. Once past the water doorway, I created several light rings that danced ahead of us to light the way. The walls were a mixture of pure granite and slate. The slate had different rules written The slate had different rules written on them, such as scrolls will not be removed from the library without specific permission from the archivist. All those accessing the Poison's archives must record their name in the log. We are not responsible for loss of life or limb to those who enter the precarious section.
You would think they would come up with better names for those sections.
Eric snorted. Do you think anyone who would want to have a poison or precarious section named after them?
I know a few humans who might.
I tried not to chuckle, but smiled nonetheless. At least smiling didn't hurt. We checked in with the archivist, who was aptly named Books. He was a younger Fae, and apparently named after some character in a novel he read. The boy was quite exuberant when it came to helping us find the right section. Either that, or he had been so starved for company that he was relishing the moment. Sorry, guys. Either that, or he had been so starved for company that he was relishing the moment of having more than just old scrolls and the sound of running water for company.
Please, let me know if you need any help interpreting these. Some are written in the language of the Void. I am fluent in Void script.
He nodded and backed away slowly. I had no doubt. He nodded and backed away slowly, no doubt hoping that we would ask for his help. Eric noticed that he lingered and called,
I know a little Voidian myself, but we'll come find you if I get stuck.
The archivist sulked a little, but scampered off back to his desk, where no doubt he was translating another tome. We combed through the scrolls with any resemblance to the runes that were missing from the Elven Hall of Records. I got fed up after a few hours. These are all definitions. I slouched in the chair I was sitting in. The pain in my chest reminded me that was a bad idea. Eric, who had started from the back of the runes section, joined me with a new scroll. He sat on the table, facing me, but looking at the pages in front of him.
This might be something. I'm not sure. There are words here I can't translate.
Books? I called. Within a few minutes, he was there.
How can I help?
As he translated, I took notes in my journal. When the boy had finished, we looked at each other. Eric hopped off the table, and we headed out of the archives, calling our thanks back to Books as we rushed to meet up with Turek. There we go. And that was the end of chapter 8. What'd you think?
I'm having fun. I don't get to play around with the Fae very much.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm just taking a look at who we've got on deck for tomorrow. Eric's going to be here again, along with Turek. So I'm going to see if Greg Howe is available, because he did an amazing Turek the last time. He does this great goblin type voice. So that's going to be fun. And that's also going to be a 2-part episode. So we'll see. If not, I will do my Turek voice. And my Turek voice is a little interesting. It also hurts.
Hey, that reminds me of J.R. Blackwell doing...
Well, J.R. Blackwell is kind of amazing at everything she does.
Yeah, she even gives life. So
yeah, she rocks life. So yeah, I think that was really good. I was tripping up on some of my words, but I think that's just because I'm not very awake.
That could be it.
Yeah. So, life lessons. Be awake when you're, be awake and caffeinated when you're recording, because then you yawn in the middle of recording like this.
Yeah, in my house, I endorse naps. So
naps are amazing.
Don't ever expect me to. You like, hey, wake me up at this time. I'm gonna be like, sure. That time rolls around. I'm like,
are you still sleeping? I'm gonna let you sleep.
Exactly. Sleeping is great.
Sleeping is amazing. So yeah, and it's awesome having somebody to play off of, especially in those heated scenes.
Again, you're tested. First time you're like, I need you to do a voice. Now you're like, I need you to do a voice, and I need you to also do a second voice. Next, you're gonna be like, I need you to do a third voice. It's gonna be a lady.
Well, when I get there, I'm looking forward to when I can bring in some of the female voice actors that have responded, and some of the female voiced people who are new to this, because I think it would be fun. I'm hoping that next weekend I'm going to have a few people on that have not been on my show yet. And I don't know if they're podcasters or not. Is Shay a podcaster?
I
know. So the other person I'm having on next weekend is Julia Ellingbo Bond, who is an RPG writer, and an awesome human being. And I'm also going to have Shay on, and I think that's going to be fun. But I don't know if Shay does a podcast. So Shay, if you're watching, tell me if you have a podcast. So I think we pretty much wrapped this up. You want to remind people where they can find Talk Nerdy to Me?
Yes, I do. You can always find me and my co-host Jen at the Talk Nerdy to Me podcast.com. That is Talk Nerdy to Me with the number 2. You can always find us on Facebook at facebook.com/nerdy to me. And of course, you can find us on Twitter at Nerdy to Me Podcast.
Fantastic. And I have all of those links in the show notes. Speaking of, I do want to let you know that this podcast is presented by Resonant Moon Audiobook Solutions. Please be sure to check us out if you have any editing needs for your audio. I do podcasts. I do audiobooks. Just hit me up. This show is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives 4.0 international license, which means that you can share it. You can, were you reading my little script? That's my notes that I just copy and paste into YouTube. So it means that you can share this post, you can repost it, you can download it. Just make sure that you link back to me, and don't edit it, because really, do you need to edit this gold? I don't think so. You can also interact with me on Twitter at Laura Nicole Audio. I'm probably going to be posting about D&D most recently, other than the show, because I love D&D and I love Critical Role. I'm still wearing my Gilmore's Glorious Goods shirt because it's how I roll. And if you want to be on the show, or if you want to contribute a short story for the show, because coming in September, we're going to start selecting submissions outside of this book. You can go ahead and email me, Laura Nicole Audio at gmail.com. That is LauraNicole Audio. Yeah, I had to think of how to spell audio at gmail.com. Yeah, I think that's it. So thank you for watching. We will be back tomorrow night, probably around the same time.
I don't have any plans.
All right, cool. So, I will post, Oh, and you can follow Stonebriar Casefiles on Facebook at Stonebriar Casefiles, and also in the show notes is a link to buy the book if you want spoilers, and you can subscribe so that you can automatically have these videos show up in your feed in case you are busy and miss the live version. So that's it for me. And for Talk Nerdy to Me's Jason Banks. Ow, I'm tired. And we'll see you all tomorrow. Say goodnight, Jason.
But it's not a good night for me. I'm just getting ramped up.
All right. Well, say goodbye, Jason.
Bye, Jason.